All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to our fantastic panelists. So for investors and founders, hitting the $100 million mark has become sort of an important milestone. In some ways, the 100 million mark is the new 50 million, excuse me, it's the 100 million mark is what 50 million used to be. Scaling can happen quickly with the right mix of brand, marketing, distribution, and a little luck. Colette, Marc, Rhyu, Carolyn, you've been able to build brands with icon status in today's beauty industry. Congratulations to all of you. But you've done so surrounded by other brands that have had some, but maybe not all of the same ingredients as yours. And while your brand scaled to 100 million, some of those other brands have not yet scaled to 100 million. So we wanted to dig into that. So Rhyu, let's start with you. What elements of Hero Cosmetics helped make it so special and gave it the win that it needed to sell to $100 million?
So for anyone who doesn't know Hero Cosmetics, we are an acne care brand. We have reimagined the acne care category. We're best known for our Mighty Patch hydrocolloid acne patches. We launched in 2017, and we hit the $100 million mark probably around like 2021. And let's see, what were the recipes of success? So one, I think we brought true innovation and something really different in a category that hadn't seen innovation in a really long time. So acne, a lot of people told me acne, it's so hard, like no one does anything in this category. And we brought a solution that it turns out a lot of people needed and wanted. So really, like the TAM was really big, it turns out. And I remember in the very beginning, I always said, I want these acne patches to really be for anyone and anyone that has a pimple emergency. So it could be for someone who's, that 13-year-old adolescent, or it could be for a woman in her 40s or 50s going through hormonal changes. And so I wanted this brand and this product to really be for everybody. So we had a very wide demographic that we were able to serve. So again, kind of going back to a really, really big market size opportunity. I think we had a brand also that catered to a lot of people. So it wasn't, very specific in terms of we're only targeting teenagers, between this age. We actually served a lot of people. And what else? I mean, we had an amazing team because execution I think is so important. I do think we hired really well. We had an amazing team that really helped us get to scale very quickly. And distribution, these days we have to talk about distribution. We launched on Amazon. We basically built our business on Amazon and Target. That's how we got to $100 million in revenue. And so just with those two channels and going deep, we were able to get there. And so again, kind of going back to, we want this brand and this product to be for anyone and everyone that has a pimple problem. Where do they buy? They happen to buy on Amazon and at Target and other places. And those are some of the keys to our success.
Yeah, and we'll definitely come back to the distribution part of the conversation in a little bit. Colette, what was the secret ingredient at INKEY List that helped you guys stand out from all the other brands that were founded in 2018?
Yeah, so 2018, it feels like a long time ago, right?
I know, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Pre-COVID, remember those days? So I think it was just really, really simple. We set out with a completely consumer-centric brand. Like, that was it. So at the time, brands were very opaque. There was a real lack of transparency in the industry. Like, there wasn't even INKEY lists on websites. Like, can you imagine a world now where you don't know what's in your product? And consumers were really frustrated and asking for more. They wanted to know more about their skin. They wanted to know more about the products that they were buying. And they were turning to each other to try and get that help. And we just set out with a very simple, clear mission that has not changed in 6 years, which is we want to spread the beauty of knowledge to the world. We want to help support people, give them the knowledge they need, then they can make the right decisions. It's simple, stupidly simple, but it worked. And from day one, consumers just got it. They just got that. That's what I've been looking for. And the retailer did too. So within 6 months, we'd done a global exclusive Sephora deal in 32 countries. So from day one, it was like, okay, we've got something here. The consumer loves it, the retailer loves it, we think we've hit on something that feels unique and totally consumer-centric in a market that really wasn't.
Yeah, and once again, we'll come back to the distribution piece, but yeah, I remember like it was yesterday when you guys got into Sephora. I was so happy for you, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like, can a brand that's like so new thrive in Sephora?
I felt the same.
Apparently you can. Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll share that with us. Marc, speaking of it feels like yesterday, literally.
It was yesterday.
It literally was yesterday. I remember when the press release came out with Byoma, and I got to see your packaging, and I was oohing and ahhing over how fabulous the packaging was. And it literally was yesterday. It was like 2022, right? So you guys have managed to scale at like literal breakneck speed. Is there any one ingredient that has allowed Byoma to thrive so prolifically in such a short period of time?
I actually think it's a bit of everything, right? So similar to what Drew was saying and Colette was saying, I believe everything starts with an insight, right? No matter how big or small. Often, in my case, it's a personal frustration or want or need. I want to look 10 years younger, and it just doesn't happen now. With Byoma, that insight was we felt like the consumer was really overwhelmed. And as a direct result, we're over-treating, overusing, and over-exfoliating their skin. And that insight then led to kind of our belief that we believe the source of most skin issues starts and ends with a compromised skin barrier. And then that insight then led to, I guess, the creation of the brand. And that really started with our mission. And that mission was really to disrupt and democratize skincare, help kind of build a better beauty industry, really by empowering the consumer to make smart, informed choices. So I guess for me, it's about innovation and education and just being really clear on what is our mission, what do we stand for, what are we really passionate about, what do we believe in? Because I think the product is just a byproduct of your bigger purpose. And when you can really find that true purpose, that's when you know that you're building something that is different, something that's authentic, and something that the consumer wants and needs.
Yeah. Carolyn, I specifically waited to get to you because It's a 10 has been around for 18 years, right? So unlike some of the other brands on the stage that have been around for just far fewer years, you've been around for 18 years. You've also not taken any outside equity, which we will get to later in the conversation. So when we were connecting a couple weeks ago, you kept on preaching the slow and steady is the way, right? But in a world where things move at the speed of TikTok, sometimes that can be tough to remain relevant. Tell us how you've kept It's a 10 relevant and how you've kept it growing over all these years.
So that's a great question. And obviously, from my other panelists, we kind of all have this passion, right? We're all here to create these amazing brands, bring something to the beauty industry that we know it's lacking. And if you can actually achieve that, you too can accomplish the kind of success on this stage. But how do you get it to last 18 years? How do you get it to grow in a way that it can be what I call a brand that stands the test of time and really it lives through the ups and downs, the wings, the ways of the industry. So ultimately, there are a lot of ways to do it. And I've chosen to not bring in equity partners. I have grown this brand very steadily from day one, funding itself throughout the years. And ultimately, I really feel that being able, I was a hairdresser first. So as a hairdresser within the beauty industry and standing behind the chair, I learned what it took to stay up with trends, fashion, technology. That's what we do for a living. We are the creators. I always say we are the couture of the hair industry as it is to fashion. We set the trends. And so when we learn to embrace uniqueness, creativity, and bringing something to market that's actually gonna move with the trends in the market, and not only that, actually help to create them. Create unique ways of marketing it. create unique ways of bringing something to the industry that actually the people can relate to. Not only just hairdressers. I was a frustrated hairdresser that created this brand, but I also knew I had to speak to the clients. The industry is oversaturated. There is so much that we need to bring to market in a way that people actually can understand it, as you were speaking to. So not only what you bring to market, but then over the years, how do you continue that path? And there are so many different ways. What I've learned over the last 18 years, I'm writing a book. Honestly, it's going to fill a book. Everything from technology, not only within the technology space, but also within innovation of ingredients. I'm a real stickler with all of that. Don't be afraid to change and grow. And these are all things that have to be a part of a brand that's going to last for 18, 28, for 38 years, right? So that's really how I've managed to do it.
Thank you. So all of you currently sell in what we always call at BeautyMatter the big four. So Sephora, Ulta, Target, Walmart, those are the big four, and we could call it the big five if we include Amazon, right? So is it even possible to get to being a $100 million brand today if you don't sell in one of the big four or the big five? Let's start with Ju.
I think it is. That means you're probably only selling on D2C, I'm assuming. I mean, you didn't mention if you have to be a profitable brand at $100 million.
Well, that's how you get to 18 years without equity,
Yeah.
as Carolyn will tell you.
But now sort of being on the other side, sometimes I look at businesses from like an investment standpoint, and there's quite a few actually that are mostly D2C, and they do get to the $100 million mark. Usually, there's some kind of, what do you call it, like a little hook, like maybe they're really good at figuring out D2C and the D2C model, or maybe they've attached themselves to a creator or a celebrity to get that marketing arbitrage. So I think it's still possible. I think you need some kind of differentiation or kind of a trick, I guess, like an operational trick to get you there, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, and stay tuned, by the way, for our e-commerce panel coming up later today. We'll talk a little bit about that. Carolyn, how about you?
So as I mentioned before, I actually came in a very different way. I started off as a brand that was professional hair care industry only. So it was quite limited. We only sold to hairdressers. And it was about 10 years into that aspect of my industry where my own industry started changing. And COVID skyrocketed that. But so with technology, when I started this brand, there was really little to no social media, let alone Amazon, or as you said, D2C. We didn't have a website. When I became sole owner of this company in 2017, we did not have a website other than it saying, hi, we're at 10 and this is what we have, and go to your distributor to get it. So really that transition in bringing a brand that had these really amazing, concepts and products, and the way that we had originally marketed it in the beauty industry and then bringing it to the other avenues of distribution was a progression that needed to happen. It needs to happen within the whole professional beauty industry, I believe. And so it was a progression that obviously skyrocketed us. We already were doing, close to 100 million at that point anyway. But since I've taken the company over in 2017, we've more than doubled this company. So, it is a major part of what's happening in our world, and we have to be open to embrace it, even as the professional hair care brands that we are today, or whatever industry you're in. It is absolutely possible to do it and still remain, have your integrity, and really be able to supply and honor all of the relationships. Because as a hairdresser, I know how important it is that we keep the quality in professional grade, hair products.
Yeah, and we could have a whole conversation about
another
professional.
conversation.
Yeah. Colette, how about you? Is it possible to get to 100 million without touching one of the big four?
You're speaking to the wrong person, John. I was 10 years in retail, so I am a retailer turned brand founder. So at the INKEY list, it was like, what's our strength? DTC was not our strength. And similarly to yourself, I didn't have a trading website. I believe in, as a young brand, I believe in the power and the equity that a brand can give you. We were very strategic in launching exclusively with Sephora. I know that a retailer can eat you alive, believe me, because I was that retailer. That brands alive. I think is finding the right way for you. I think exclusivity was the right way in which we could take Sephora's equity, really help them to brand build and support us, so we could then focus our energy and resource and investments elsewhere. So it was about playing the retailer versus yourself. I think DTC is a tough game, and it's getting tougher. Who knows where TikTok shop's going to go? But for me, if you can work with the retailer, being with a major retailer is such a huge stepping stone to getting there. If someone can do DTC and get to 100 million, you are a better founder than I am, because it's a tough gig, and if you work well with the right retailer, it's definitely a springboard and a much quicker way to get the brand to 100 million.
Yeah, for sure. And Marc, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree with everything that the other panelists will say. How we approach it is slightly different. So the first thing is we never focus on getting to a number. What we focus on is really understanding who is our customer, where are they shopping, what do they want, what do they need, and where do we meet them wherever they're at. Now, we have always proudly been a retail-first business. I've set up 4 brands that all launched retail first, but we've always, and I work with all 5 of these big retailers, and they're all incredible, and I'm so proud that they're really now making it easier for indie brands to launch there. Yeah. They're developing programs and platforms to really help founders on every stage of their journey. So I do want to say thank you to Ulta, Sephora, Target, Amazon specifically, because without you guys holding probably all of our hands, we absolutely wouldn't be here today. But from my perspective, my advice is think about your customer, where are they shopping, and meet them there.
Yeah, and that's a good transition because obviously I have so much, as a brand founder myself, I have so much admiration for what all of you have done. But for all of you, this is sort of not your first time at the rodeo, so to speak. So Colette and Carolyn, you guys have been so humble and transparent about brands each of you started prior to INKEY List and prior to It's a 10 that didn't go quite as you had planned. What learnings did you take from those experiences that helped get your current brands to the place that they are today? Colette, let's start with you.
Yeah, so we actually started our business as a category opportunity. So we looked at all the different spaces and market gaps and looked at different business models and different brands that could fit that. So the INKEY List was actually our 5th brand. But it only took us 12 months to hit the jackpot, thank goodness, because I'm not sure how long I could have held with 5 brands. I do not know how this guy does it, my goodness. But I definitely took a lot of learnings within those 12 months and the other brands. Number 1 was substance over style. So we had a body brand that actually was doing really well, and we were just about to do a big moment and push in the US. And we were with a lot of the more lifestyle retailers. And it was cute, it was cool, people loved it. Did they continue to buy it? There was definitely that longevity piece of being cute, being cool, being fun, getting that first acquisition in is getting people to stay. And I think from the INKEY List, what we learned, now we've taken it to the extreme of substance over style. We are very, very straight to the point at the INKEY List, but for me, the power in an enduring brand is the loyalty. And we've been incredibly lucky that we've built such an amazing community, including yourself, John, may I say, using our product this morning in your bathroom. I think once people come to the INKEY, sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
You never told me that.
He's going to kill me.
Now everyone knows.
That's not what he told me this morning. I got a very different picture, and it was just all Byoma.
So yeah, I think for me is getting a product that works. Ultimately, you can have the coolest product in the world. Unless it works and unless people want to come back to you time and time and again, it's just not going to work. And it was a painful lesson to to learn that, because we'd got a brand, retail attraction, consumer traction, and then it was like, the sales just aren't quite coming. And it was much more of a bath time luxury kind of occasional use product. So that was a big thing for me. And then the second thing, and this is probably the one thing I would say to everybody, is consumer feedback. Like, please, please, please listen to a consumer. I know we've got egos. I know we think we know best. We do not. Even if a consumer tells you, oh my God, like consumer testing is the worst thing in the entire world, by the way. I love it. I love that color. I'll definitely pick that. Give us your money then. Like, genuinely listen to your consumer, and if something has not got the traction, don't push water uphill. We did that with a couple of the brands where it's like, come on, force the retailer to take it. Force them to take a second PO. Like, if it's not happening, it's not happening, call it.
Yeah.
And that might be a brand, that might be a product, that might be a campaign. Sometimes you just got to take away the ego, listen to the consumer. And we definitely took that into consideration at INKEY. We changed our packaging 3 times in the first 12 months, listening to consumer feedback, as thinking we were clear, providing knowledge and education, and them going, still don't get it. Okay, we need to rethink this. So yeah, listen to your consumer and offer them something meaningful and valuable.
Yeah. Marc, no one could ever accuse you of being a one-hit wonder, because in addition to Byoma, as you mentioned, you've also been the founder of Tanlux, Isle of Paradise, and Tanologist. What was the biggest learning that sort of is the needle that threads all of those brands?
Well, 3 tanning brands. I'm Scottish and very pale, and I like to be tanned, okay? And I'm proud of it. No, I think, you know, it all ties back to the consumer. Like, we very much we never intentionally set out to create 3 tanning brands and Byoma. We kind of just built a business that was really committed to the consumer and that was really committed to innovation and ultimately shaping the future of beauty. And I said at the start, everything we do is about insights in the consumer and really knowing the customer better than they know themselves. But it also, for me, comes back to people and culture, and really being really clear on your mission and creating a company and a culture where you embrace failure. So in my company, I actively empower people to fail, because I think if you're learning from it, you're not failing, right? You're moving forward, you're moving faster. And the reason we've built all of these brands is because we've built this company of beauty warriors that champion our mission of moving an industry forward, shaping it, and ultimately serving the customer. And they're so connected with their customer, whether that be through social or whether that be through insights or whether that be through, I think social media is an amazing way now to really understand your customer and connect with them and build that deep personal relationship. But I think we're so connected with the customer now that they shape our strategy. Like, and internally, our people, some of the youngest people in my business have the best ideas. And I think what I'm really proud of is building a business and a culture where everyone feels safe to fail and be in the future, and we encourage that mindset. And we also give them really good tools and processes to measure, you know, and evaluate and sense check and do due diligence on any of those ideas, because you need to fail fast and cheap. I'm also Scottish, right? So.
Carolyn, let's come back to you. Tell us about the lessons that you learned from your first business that sort of made your second business more successful.
I'm going to go in a different category here. I'm going to go to the actual process of running a business. And obviously, your team is everything to help you build a business to scale. But part of some of the learnings that I encountered, my first company absolutely failed. We lost everything back in 2002. It was a 4-year-old company that had major issues. And I think what I learned from that was not to try to do everything yourself. Actually build the team around you that's going to help support you, bring you to the market in a way that is going to be extremely efficient. And the way I describe it today in a very layman's term is, you know, when you think about, when people ask me all the time, how do you build all these brands? Because It's a 10 is just one of my many brands. And I really describe it as like building a house. And so when you're building a house, you don't go to the plumbing store to get the pipes, you don't go to the electrical store to get the wiring, you don't go to the wood store to get the wood, you go to Home Depot. So that concept within business is out there today. You really want to engage with companies that help you bring products to market that actually have multiple services under one roof. And when you do that, the team that you build around you obviously helps support that progress. So you aren't having, I had a ton of QC issues with the very first company that I started. We really tried to do too much, too fast, and we didn't have the infrastructure and the vendors, the proper ones in place to really help us bring it to market in a way that we wouldn't run into a lot of problems. Because as you well know, putting one bottle of anything on a shelf takes a lot of things coming together. I say it's like baking that cake. All the ingredients, perfect temperature, perfect timing. I mean, there's so much involved in it. And having that support to really help make things run cohesively is absolutely crucial, because the sprayer may not fit the bottle and the label may bubble and the ingredients may react wrongly. I mean, we can go on, right? So yeah, really that is what I learned from my failure of my first company. And really surround yourself with the best. You know, yes, encouraging, we all make errors. But honestly, I encourage to get to that 10 every time. It's a 10 is about creating products where every single product is a 10. It doesn't go out in the door until we get there. We may fail 100 times until that time, but we don't release it until it's really where we want it to be.
I think you've highlighted something that is really key to my success, and that is find a network of people that you love, you trust, and support each other through every stage of your journey. I'm really proud that there's 2 people on this stage that I can call my friends. My most recent hire, Rhyu personally recommended, okay? Colette last year helped me through the biggest challenge and recommended me a new manufacturer that helped us overcome a big challenge. And what I would say, guys, is finding your network is so important, because this industry is a beautiful industry. And if you think about competition versus how do we win together, how do we grow together, how do we shape the industry together, and how do we serve the customer better, then we will all succeed together. So my message to everyone is just find that network and love them and support them. Colette and I compete in many of the same retailers. We genuinely do not see ourselves as competition. We tell each other everything because we win together, and we serve the customer in a much better way by doing that. So,
Agree. Network is everything.
Yeah, we agree. So we're running a little short on time, and there's so many great entrepreneurs out in the audience today, many of whom are hoping at some point to be on this stage talking about how they got to 100 million. Rhyu, let's start with you. What advice do you have for the entrepreneur sitting in the audience today?
Well, I think Carolyn really hit the nail on the head. So, like, I think the $100 million metric is, to me, it's just a vanity metric. Why do we talk about it, and why is it important? It's because it symbolizes scale. It symbolizes that you've gotten to a point where there's true product market fit, and some buyer can then take you to, be a much bigger business. But build a brand for the long term. You should build a brand for generations, and that's what we wanted to do. That's why our brand and our branding is very, I would say in a way, it's classic. It's not too trendy. We built it so that it would last for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Ideally, it'll be around for a long time. And I mean, Marc said it before, $100 million is just an output of what you are building with your brand. So focus on the long term. something that I learned, so we actually had a transaction 2 years ago, and in our process, which I'll shout out Vinette and Fanika Raymond James, or Raymond James because she's Person of the Year, they did our deal, and in that process, what I learned was that it took us about 5 years to get to the $100 million mark, and that was actually a bad thing because getting there too fast scares a lot of people. And so there is something to be said about, again, taking your time. Don't just hit it for the sake of hitting it. You want to have the foundation, build the brand, build the business, and all the pieces should fall into place.
Okay. We have like a second left. Does anyone have any other advice very quickly that they'd like to tell the audience?
Stay in the game. It's really difficult, guys. We get it. Like, most days is super painful. I was sat next to someone at dinner last night, and they were like, does it get easier? I was like, just stay in the game. That is our like business and founder mentality. It is difficult. Just stay in the game and stay true to who you are.
Yeah.
I think the best word of advice is that, obviously, you just mentioned a big one. If you think it's going to get easier, it doesn't. I always say you have the same problems, just bigger zeros after them. And ultimately, I think what I recommend the most is keeping an open mind and totally be prepared to embrace change. You have to have such an open mind and be able to pivot on a drop of a hat. And listen, COVID taught us all that, right? Where you can literally, we all had to figure out another way instantly. So that's just one tiny example of 18 years later of how we've had to learn to pivot through technology, through embracing all different types of things that come our way. And you know what? It's really, really exciting. I encourage you to do it. Keep an open mind and be willing to change and move with your company as it grows. That means maybe hiring new accounting firms, maybe getting new attorney firms. As you grow, your company and the help you have around you and surround yourselves with have to grow as well. So 100 million and up, it may be time for a new team in certain areas. It's really important that you are willing to actually embrace some of those changes. So that's my advice.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think we have time for one question for the panel. Does anyone have a question for our group here? Oh, wow. Well, you guys were so good that they don't have any questions.
There's one over there.
Oh, we have one. Sorry, we have a question.
Hi, my name is Madhu Punjabi. I'm founder of Lion Pose Skincare. Would love to hear, a lot of you guys in the audience are, I'm sure, are entrepreneurs. I'd love to hear about your first 100 customers and how you got your first 100.
Mine's going to be very different. I gave free bottles out to hairdressers. That's how I built this company.
Ours were probably on Amazon, and I mean, you're not supposed to do this, but I think we were like begging our friends and family to buy them on Amazon.
Leave a review.
Yeah.
I love it. Marc, who were your first 100 customers? Do you know?
Similar, my husband and I started this business in his hair salon, so it was clients in the salon that we were incentivizing to buy the product. Free haircut if you buy my product.
Right, I love it.
Yeah, I think we've all been there with the labels, forcing our friends and family to try it, to buy it. Yeah, the first 100 customers should definitely be people you know that you're forcing to buy your brand. Build out from there.
I mean, I guess the common thread is it is grassroots. Even for brands that are now doing $100 million, they all started out with the friends and family scheme.
Still something on the street, literally.
All right, I want to thank you so much. You guys have been great and so generous with your knowledge. Thank you so much.